Dave comes through the door and he goes, "I can't believe you did that!" Last Saturday, I was working over to the retail shop, Roadies, when a friend of mine, Dave, comes into the shop. Now, Dave is an amateur firearms restorer whose skill sets are becoming quite good. Now, Dave is also one of my subscribers on the YouTube channel, and Dave comes through the door and he goes, "I can't believe you did that!" You get all excited about finding the serial numbers. At the same time, he says, you're pulling parts off and just throwing them into the boxes. He says, I'd be taking 100 pictures, and he says, and I'd be detailing where everything goes. And I looked at him calmly, and I smiled, and I said, David, I got the video. I know how I took it apart. I know how I'm going to put it back together again. Today's video is I want to try and get the rest of this receiver apart. Now, some of you know that I've been soaking this in WD-40 for over a week. And the results are I was able to loosen several of these screws. The hammer screws came loose. The hammer spring screw came loose. And I was able to get a couple of these smaller screws on the side loose as well. But there are 4 additional screws that I can't get loose. So one of the first things that I had to do is I had to make a screwdriver that would fit into the slots of those tiny screws. Now those screws aren't much bigger than the screws that you put into your eyeglasses. And the problem is I need not only to have a screwdriver that'll fit, but I need a screwdriver that will be substantial enough for me to grab a hold of and have the strength not to break when I'm trying to loosen those. So I had to make this screwdriver that I could use. But I did an exclusive video over on my Patreon page for my patrons explaining how I did this. So if you're interested in the occasional tech tip, just go over to my Patreon page and sign up, and at the $5 level you can see some of these tech tips that I'm going to try to produce on a somewhat regular basis over the next few months. So today we're going to try and get these last 4 remaining screws loose, and then hopefully get the entire gun or the entire receiver taken apart. Now, I was going to use heat, and I'm still going to use heat. I was planning to use a propane torch, but one of my viewers suggested that I use a heat gun, and I'm going to try that. I thought it was just a fantastic suggestion. This belongs to my wife. It's a craft heat gun that she uses for all kinds of crafty things. But it's hot. It gets really hot. You can't put your hand anywhere in front of the exhaust when this thing is running. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to try using that heat gun in order to loosen these screws, and then assuming I can get them loose, then the rest of the project should go pretty easy, getting the balance of this receiver apart. Let's get started. I have the receiver clamped in my vise, and I have these wooden jaws that I built that help protect whatever delicate things that I might have, things that I don't want to scratch up, metal to metal. The wooden jaws also help give some rigidity because it actually compresses around whatever I'm clamping a little bit, so it doesn't tend to shift. So we're going to heat these screws up, and I'm going to use this heat gun that I mentioned earlier, and it gets very hot. We're going to give it a try and see how it works. If this works, I'd rather do this than the fire torch, but let's give this a try. So that's gotten hot enough that I can't keep my hand on it. Let's see if that's enough to release that screw at all. Oh, it did. No kidding. All right. Oh, that is cool. Okay, good. All right, that's one. I got 3 more to go. Let's keep it going. All right, this is the last screw. All the others have come out, and I'm pretty confident this one will too. That is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. Never thought that would work that well. So the viewer who suggested this in one of my comments, thank you very much. If I can find your comment, I'll be happy to give you credit for this because it's just a great idea. I'm going to use this in the future. So thank you very much. All right, so all the screws are loose. And now all I got to do is dismantle the gun. So let's go do that.